From time to time, I do these sponsored videos of indie titles, and the best thing about it, obviously aside from a little spare cash in my pocket, is that I end up playing something I may have never played if I hadn't been approached for the sponsor deal. Many gems like Forgive Me Father, Warstride challenges, and many more may have just passed me by, and that would be a shame. For this video, talking about the upcoming early access PC title Diluvian Ultra, I'm again working with Fulcrum Publishing, who previously sponsored me for coverage of Dread Templar, which turned out to be one of my favorite games of 2023. Make sure you click the link in the video description to check out Diluvian, grabbing it that way helps me out. Thanks. If you know my channel, you know that I don't take sponsored deals unless I think the game is cool and shows potential, and that's why I'm here to talk about Diluvian Ultra. It's not without its issues, and we'll get into them. It is in early access after all, but there's something cool happening here, and I want to see where they take it. Diluvian Ultra is set in a distant future where a group of savage zealots, the Ordo Diluvian, waged war across the solar system with the aid of their biological weapons, the Star Serpents, dragons that destroyed enemy civilizations. But these dragons didn't stick around once the job was done. They flew off on their own in search of more, leaving the Diluvians without their powerful weapons, and the surviving civilizations retaliated against them on their home planet of Mars. It's said that many Diluvians feel guilt for what they've done and offered little resistance. Their civilization crumbled, and those who survived left the planet to journey the stars. Thousands of ships carry the remnants of the Diluvian civilization, traveling for thousands of years in search of the Promised Land. But the journey is interrupted as your character Attila, a prince of Diluvian society, awakens to discover an invasion by an enemy army. Are they a new foe, or have you been followed by the civilizations that the Diluvians so wrongly tried to destroy before? It's a cool sci-fi premise, and you actually get to play as a villain. We don't know how involved our character was in the genocide years before, or even how he feels about it. We just know we're playing someone from this society that was involved in some horrible acts. You'll notice right away the visual similarity to Harry Potter spin-off shooter Warhammer 40k Bolt Gun. It's an unavoidable comparison, but a good one. Diluvian's art style combines classic pixelated 2D sprites with 3D models to create a fun retro art style that really finds its footing as the game goes on. Levels become much larger and more ambitious, delivering some impressive visuals and moments where you just stop and say, damn, this place is huge. Exploration is greatly rewarded with much needed resources, and there's a lot of secrets hidden with platforming as long as you're paying attention. Thankfully, there's no fall damage, so feel free to go for those big jumps. You'll be using jump pads to ascend to high up locations, and you have a double jump with a single air dash, no ground dashing, only in the air. There's a decent amount of air control as well, and from what I've seen, no other mobility options exist. I didn't come across any bunny hopping or anything like that. As you're making your way through the levels and picking up resources and exploring for secrets, you'll be finding globs of blood that collect to eventually become focus points that can be spent on weapon upgrades and alt-fire modes. My favorite being how you can choose to absorb your bio ammo and convert it into armor. Very cool mechanic. Near the end of the early access campaign, you start to see puzzle elements integrated into the levels, which I'm honestly really excited about. It was a nice break from the standard gameplay, and I'm hoping the next campaigns expand on this idea and make more levels around figuring out solutions to cool puzzles. While there are graphical similarities to Bolt Gun, this game certainly isn't made with the budget or the people of that game, so animations are more basic, and you won't be seeing much in the way of gore or dismemberment, which I think the game would certainly benefit from. Though I have gotten some cool explosions of gore with sword kills and explosions. Your starting weapon is the sword, with a quick slash or a charging slash. Fortunately, the slashes have a generous active range, so you don't have to get too close. You can actually press the F key for a very quick sword slash while you're holding other weapons, making the sword something I didn't just forget about once I found my arsenal. Though this isn't the kind of melee integration you get from something like Project Warlock 2, where melee kills grant ammo drops. It's just a normal sword, and you can unlock the ability to use right-click as a projectile deflect. However, since the deflected projectiles don't track back to their source and instead tend to fly off in other directions, I didn't use it much. Maybe I should have, because I definitely ran out of ammo a few times in my hard mode playthrough. Your pistol is actually a living weapon, a cute little alien creature that spits out projectiles. It has infinite ammo, but will overheat if not used intelligently. A long cooldown will definitely cause you problems. Since it doesn't have to be reloaded, pressing the reload button just makes you pet him, which is the cutest thing I've seen all year. And the alt-fire mode causes him to take flight and become a level guide, which unfortunately isn't quite working yet. You may be expecting a typical retro FPS arsenal beyond this, and while you are for the most part right, the way it functions is a bit different, and is what makes Diluvian's combat loop stand out amongst the other shooters I've played recently. Diluvian's enemies have protective armor, just like you do. Normal weapons like the pistol or the shotgun will damage both their health and armor, but specific weapons that shoot biological ammunition actually target the armor, and when the armor is gone, these weapons don't do damage to the enemy. You have to switch to something like the pistol or the sword to get the kill. A lot of the combat is focused around using the armor-melting weapons to wear down the enemies and then getting the kill with another weapon. Interestingly, the moment enemies lose all their armor, they're vulnerable to a single attack that will kill them. If you wear down someone's armor and now they're flashing red, you can pull out the pistol for a finishing shot. Grenades are found through exploration and aid greatly in crowd control, as does the electric shotgun's unlockable alt-fire mode that tosses a battery charge that detonates in a high-damage explosion. Two weapons specialize in armor destruction, the rifle and the chain gun. You'll want to keep both reloaded and ready for combat because they run out quicker than you think. And this is where I want to take a moment to praise Diluvian's reload mechanic. It isn't often that we see a game that punishes you for reload spamming, but I like to see it here and there. Diluvian has the realistic reload mechanic of discarding the magazine in your gun if you pop in a new one, meaning all the ammo in the gun is tossed out. So you want to be mindful of your ammo count and only reload when you need to during combat, or else you're tossing out precious resources. However, they don't go all the way. The ammo that is wasted by reloading too soon is simply scattered about, and you can pick it back up. So really, this is just a mechanic that makes you feel the pressure to reload thoughtfully while you're in tough combat situations. And you will find challenging combat here and there. I wouldn't call Diluvian a difficult game in its current state, but there are some demanding encounters near the end of the first campaign, and there's only one campaign ready for early access. You'll find power-ups scattered around the maps that add to the fun, namely the double damage power-up, and my favorite, the one that gives you one nuclear ground pound that kills everything on screen. Enemy types are pretty standard, and they're not showing any signs of interesting behaviors, but they play their roles well and have distinct visual designs so you always know who you're fighting. The game gets off to a rocky start by first introducing you to these guys who spawn goo bubbles that multiply, making you think the whole game is gonna be this crap, but thankfully that's not the case. And as soon as you realize you can use the ground pound to instantly kill all the bubbles, you stop being so annoyed by them. Flying drones are there to harass and can be taken down even by an armor targeting weapon, and flying bombs can be used to instantly destroy all armor in the area, allowing you to insta-kill everyone in the vicinity after the blast. There's one big guy that puts up a protective shield if you take down his armor, meaning you have to get in close to get the final hit. Or you can just take down most of his shield and do the rest of the damage with a standard weapon. You'll be able to kill him straight away, avoiding the shield generation. See what I mean? For such a simple looking game, there's some pretty interesting combat mechanics and resource management going on. There's a lot of potential for smart play and decision making to deal with combat scenarios. And I use that word potential because that is a path I think this game could take, if it chooses. Diluvian, unfortunately, has the Proteus checkpoint system. The Proteus checkpoint system is a way of implementing level checkpoints in a way that saves all your combat and exploration progress when you die. Your health is mostly restored, and now you have all this space in front of you to catch up to where you were, but all the enemies are already dead. This causes two major problems. The first is that you're just walking through empty rooms to get back, which feels entirely pointless and is boring. The second is that it trivializes the combat encounters. Yes, it is nice that there is a consequence for dying. When you respawn, it takes away one of your focus points, which are used for upgrades, but I gotta wonder what the point of upgrading even is if you're able to pass the level by just dying and respawning over and over until everything is dead. It sucks all the challenge out of the game, and it invalidates all the smart tactics you come up with, because really, who cares? Who cares if you're playing well or not? Just die and respawn and pick up where you left off. Enemies retain the damage taken before you died too, so you just have to finish them off. Watch as I'm taking down the armor of this gunship, dying repeatedly just to respawn and continue taking the armor down until eventually he dies. Like I said, it's not too late to change this. A traditional checkpoint system can be implemented. Beyond that core design flaw, I don't have much criticism aside from the music just being a looping cyberpunk-style track that sounds like it's free-to-use music. And free-to-use music is fine, there just needs to be more variety. I'm assuming this music is just a placeholder for larger musical variety to come when the game is finished, so I'm not too upset about it. This concludes the sponsored section of this video, for the viewer, where I'm recommending this game based on my experience. Diluvian is a pretty fun game that takes a little while to totally click, but once you have the weapon variety and the mechanics come together, it creates a combat loop that's pretty fun and unique. The later levels are starting to show some real creativity, and I can imagine the next campaigns getting really ambitious. Add in some more musical variety, new enemy types and weapons, and I can see Diluvian shaping up to be really solid, and I hope you'll consider supporting the devs during early access as they figure the game out and iron out the issues. Now, this part of the video is for the devs, because I'm assuming they watch sponsored videos on their game, and I need to address some of the issues I've encountered for the benefit of the devs, and for transparency to my viewers, which I owe them. This game is launching in early access, so it's understandable that there's stuff to fix. The ground pound sometimes fails if done on top of an enemy. You should probably make sure the damage extends downwards. The power-up here that switches damage types actually bugs out and makes the pistol not kill enemies once their armor is gone, long after the power-up is worn off. Breaking more than one crate makes the sound stack and amplify, making a really loud noise. Switching weapons after firing the chain gun feels inconsistent, like the weapon switch buffer gets dropped and you just sit there holding the chain gun. I think it would be nice if you could interrupt the reload animations so you aren't sitting there reloading a gun you don't even want to be using. It's okay to have to reload it once you switch back to it. Visual similarity between the pistol and the chain gun causes confusion for me sometimes when I'm in the chaos of battle. They're both curved alien weapons with tendrils coming out of the top. I think something could be done to set the chain gun apart for more visual clarity. I fell through the red surface at the bottom of this level, expecting damage or death, but I just fell into the void forever, eventually having to reload. So yeah, that's Diluvian Ultra. Pretty cool game. I want to see how it comes together after spending a while in early access. I hope you'll support it. Thank you to Fulcrum Publishing for sponsoring this video. I hope the feedback has been helpful, and I wish you success with the game.